Hey everybody, Jester here. I'm here to talk about Diablo 4 beta. I played this weekend and I wanted to give my thoughts on how it went. And yeah, so we'll go ahead and start off with classes. So I'm going to just start off from probably the worst to, I'll go from worst to best. So the worst class that I had not a lot of fun playing was the Barbarian. And for some reason, the barb, I didn't level it up as high as I wanted to. I was only able to get like my barb to maybe level 15. I went through the whole story mode basically. And I had a lot of trouble getting bosses down. I had a lot of trouble surviving, right? Like I was getting one shot left and right. I was blasting through my potions, and my damage output was just not fun. Some of the builds were kind of boring, but that might just be because I only got to level 15. So I know some people were saying that once you get to level 25, like they become a little more fun. Their damage picks up a little bit, but man, from 1 to 15, it was not fun at all. And then the next one would be Druid. That one I also got to level 15. That one, same issue, except it did a little better job at surviving. Um, I did a few different builds. I did the lightning build, and then I went to doing the landslide build, and then I finished off with doing a little bit of the werebear and the werewolf build. And I really enjoyed the werewolf build. I thought it was really cool. Just I picked the one where you jump to each enemy as you attack them. So you were jumping around, slashing and killing trash really fast, but again, on bosses, the druid just doesn't do enough damage, and it took forever to get any of the bosses down. And then we'll go to the sorcerer, sorceress. Depends on whatever, but yes. So the sorcerer. I had this one. I got to level 25. This one destroyed everything in my it never had trouble taking anything down. I did Hydra builds. I did fire builds. I did um, pretty much all the different builds I could think of. I did a frost build for a little bit, but I think the one that did the most damage for me, or that was a lot of fun, was the chain lightning build. It's like you run into a room, you throw chain lightning at something, and it just bounces across the whole room and kills everything. You kind of feel like Thor, and it's super cool. Destroys everything, survives everything because you just have barriers. If you don't use your barriers, though, you get one shot. But that's like every wizard. Like, use your barriers, survive. Um, yeah, sorcerer overall decent class. I loved it. And then the second to best I thought was Necro. Necro destroyed everything. It did so much damage. It was so good. And it didn't matter what build you went with. It just destroyed everything. Like I started off with a blood build and I was killing everything, and then I switched to the bone spear build and was destroying everything. Corpse explosion destroyed everything. And then I got that one to 25 as well. That one's the first class I played, and I loved it. I played all day the first day. Um, yeah, the necro is crazy. I think at the end I even switched to like a darkness build, where if I put blight on anything, my minions just again destroyed everything. So yeah, the necro's in a good spot. The only problem is it's not that fun to play. It's a lot of building out your thing and then pressing a button and then stuff just dies. And it's a lot of just press one button, stuff dies. You don't really die much because you don't get enough time for enemies to hit you. So yeah, but yeah, necro and no movement, barely any movement. Like you get, I don't know if blood mist makes you any faster. Actually, it might not. Now that I think about it, it might not. But yeah, I don't think you get any movement speed with necros. So, but but it, I do love necros, and I love the fact that you can play any other build. The bone spear build is probably my favorite, And another thing is with the minions, you could switch them to where if you don't want to use minions, you can choose to use a passive instead and get like extra crit, or I forget what the other ones are, but that's if you don't want to use minions. And then I assume later in the end game, you're probably going to be going with more of that kind of the passive talents rather than using minions, just because the minions seem to die very easily. So on the stuff that hits hard, especially like the world boss I fought, like my minions were dying left and right. But yeah, overall, Necro, good class, fun to just see everything explode. So I like that. And then my favorite class, I really had fun playing the Rogue, and I wish I played it a little more. Unfortunately, I only played that one to like level 15. I really wish I played like that one up to 25 and messed around with more stuff. But the Rogue is just so fun. It's so fast. It's almost kind of like playing a monk, but you get like daggers and poisons, and you're dashing, and then you could shoot arrows, and it's just a really overall fun class. I tried a few different builds, and bosses were just like no issues whatsoever. Your survivability was great. If you were about to get hit, you'd had your normal dodge like normal, but then you had like dash or shadow step. You just pop up behind the boss and avoid stuff. So Rogue overall probably my favorite class, but I know when the game comes out, I've always played Necro, and I have a feeling I might still go with Necro, but I might do Rogue too. But yeah, so the classes were overall decent, but are overall good, but the other two probably at end game I'd say like Barb and Druid. I'd say at end game they probably are going to be a lot more fun to play. So I'll definitely level all of them and maybe talk about them when the game comes out. But that's my thoughts on the classes. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the story. Uh, the story was pretty good. I'm intrigued and excited to see what happens in the rest of the game. So because you only got the first part of you only got Act One, and it wasn't too much going on, but you learned a few things here and there, and I'm not gonna like spoil stuff. But the story I thought was pretty engaging and exciting, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the game. And with that story, like the cinematics were fantastic, and they put your character in the cinematics, so that just makes it like super cool. So I enjoyed the cinematics, and I enjoyed that your character had a lot of dialogue with people. You were actually like engaging with everyone. People weren't just talking to you and telling you what to go do. Yeah, the story was great. Yeah, the voice acting and the sound design and music of everything was just fantastic. Like I loved the sound design of everything, just running through dungeons and hearing little things in the like behind your, if you wear like some good headphones, you hear little things and you're like it's kind of creepy. The only thing I didn't like is when you killed a blood bishop and it just like exploded, and it's like like all those noises were loud and terrible. uh but man, that voice acting and sound design is great. uh the next thing I wanted to talk about was dungeons and cellars. First of all, I'll talk about the cellars. The cellars are pointless. I didn't see any reason to go into them. I did a few of them, and then I was like, okay, what is like? I did all of them to see if maybe there was something new. There really wasn't. There was like a couple of them you went in there and you didn't even, you finished it and you were like, wait, I'm done already. Like what? And then there was some where it's like, okay, you help out some people and you kill like some waves of monsters. But most of the time you run in there and then you're done and you get like a drop of loot and that's it. And it's like almost like, why did I go in there when I could just ran over to an event nearby or something. But yeah, so sellers, not sure what they're gonna do with them. Maybe there's different ones in the future, but I didn't like any of the sellers. The dungeons though, awesome. The dungeons were fantastic. I the design of the dungeons were so detailed and so cool. I really enjoyed them. The only thing I didn't enjoy was a few of the random little quests like clear out a whole dungeon before you could go through the last door. I feel like stuff like that, you always somehow miss a ghost or some shit that flew through a wall, and you have to run around try and find it. Like, just let me press a couple levers or buttons and or whatever to open a door. Why do I need to kill everything in the whole dungeon? It was annoying. And then there's a couple where you have to like run to pick up things and then like pick up some cubes and then put them on a pillar. Um, that one was all right, but sometimes you like pick up a cube and then run around the other side of the dungeon and then there's another cube but you can't get it, so you have to run back to the pillar, put it down, then run all the way back. So that's kind of annoying. I wish you could pick up like both of them and then bring them back. But um, yeah, any other dungeons I could think of, they were all like, some of them were easy, just like kill 3 skeleton conduits or something, and um, yeah, those were fine. They were fine, but yeah, the only one I really just hate is that clear the whole dungeon. That is so annoying. Um, yeah, but the dungeons look great. The bosses in the dungeons were great. Some of them were repetitive, but overall, I enjoyed most of the bosses. I didn't have any bosses that I really got annoyed from. Um, and then let's see. I'll talk about loot. So loot is interesting. It's different this time around. Like all the drops are very random, and like the stat wise, they're very just a lot more random, I guess, or and weird. Like, you don't, if you're a say a sorcerer, you don't get like an intellect drop and a vitality drop and then like a crit chance and like, like the D3 ones. You get like random stats. I don't know. It's just weird, and I don't know if I like it or not. But I thought it was just I'm so I was so fine with D3's stats and how the items were optimized, that I was fine with it staying that way. But they changed it, so maybe it'll be better later on in the game, and hopefully it's not like a pain building out your set. Um, because it kind of seemed like it. I spent a lot more time comparing items and kind of confused on which one was better. Um, and then with blue and white items, like, why are those in the game? Like, after level 10, what is the point of blue and white items? Like, you have to pick them up. They take up space in your bags, and then you just salvage them, and that's the whole thing. Like, I feel like after you hit a certain level, like maybe they just stop dropping blue and whites. Because if the whole point of them is just to salvage them, then it's a waste of picking them up, and yeah, it's just a waste of space. So at a certain point, I just stopped picking them up and only picked up the rares, but in legendaries. But yeah, that I didn't really care for that. Um, let's talk about world events. World events are cool. I like them. That's that. It's basically just random world events out on the map. You'll run around. You'll see a little red circle on your map, and you run to it, and there will be like some stuff you got to kill, or waves of things, or souls you got to collect, and you can do them with other people. They can join in and do them with you. So it's kind of cool to see other people out in the world while you're doing that and help out with that. And like if someone's having trouble doing theirs, you can run in and help them out. So I had a lot of fun with those. I thought they were cool. Um, yeah, world events are great. The map is huge, and I understand now why they like went away from um, like randomly generating it, because the map, it's huge. It's probably as big as like playing through D2 or D3, but it's like a set map. You can run from one side of the map to the other side of the map without any loading. And we'll talk about like performance issues with like running between zones, but later. But yeah, the map's cool. There's a lot of cool little things to pick up. There's mining nodes. There's herbs that you can pick up. There's like shrines that you can interact with. There's chests everywhere, and then those events everywhere. It's just there's a lot to do, a lot of dungeons, a lot of those cellars. So there's a lot to do, and I think that's great. Um, what I will say is with the mining and the herbing, like it's instant, which is fantastic. But then like when you go to a dungeon and you're like pulling a lever, you have a like you have to pull on the lever for like 2 minutes or 2 seconds. When like in real life you pull a lever, it's instant. Why can't it just be instant like herbing and mining? Like let's do that. Putting a cube on a pillar, instant. Doesn't take 2 minutes or 2 seconds. Um, Next thing I want to talk about is the world boss. It was an awesome fight. It was fun to learn all the mechanics. Died a lot the first time. The second time I only died once or twice, but it was cool learning the fight. It's cool like sitting there with a group of people and then just it coming out of the ground and start fighting you. I thought overall the boss was great. The things I didn't like about the world boss is the fact that low level people can join your instance because I think there's only 12 allowed in one instance. So you get 4 or 5 or 6. Half your group is like low level, then you're kind of screwed and you can't kill the boss. I think the first time I fought the boss, I barely killed it, and the second time we didn't get anywhere near killing it. Um, so I feel like those somehow setting a like a level minimum to join would be great because a lot of those people kind of ruined the fight. And then the another thing that really bugged me during the fight, and I think it's intentional. I'm pretty sure it is because it makes sense, but it doesn't quite work. Is when you're fighting the boss and you kind of walk away from the boss, your character kind of runs off from the center of the screen to the side of the screen a little bit so that you have more room, I guess, to see the boss. But the problem with that is you're always throughout the whole game you're always in the center of the screen. So you always know where your character's at even without really looking at your character. So there was a lot of times where I run off to the side and then I go to dodge something and I'm actually not where I think I am. I'm off to the side and I run into a pool of poison and die, or I get hit by the world boss and die. So I I think I understand why they did that, but it didn't work out, and it seemed off to me, and I didn't like that. So um, yeah, hopefully they figure that out and fix that. Uh, and then a timer on the boss. Why is there a timer? Like, just let us kill the boss. It, 15 minutes to kill the boss. It's a long fight. Like 15 minutes is too long, but at the same time, like if you're sitting there for 15 minutes and you're almost done with killing the boss and then it despawns, that feels so terrible. I feel like it's such a waste of time just sitting there fighting for 15 minutes for nothing. Um, like if your whole team wipes, I like the way World of Warcraft does it. If your group wipes, the boss respawns and then you can try again. Like, but it's not on a timer. Doesn't disappear. Um, maybe some work it around something like that rather than how it is. I think that would be better. Um, and then performance. Um, Overall, it was okay, but I did have FPS issues. Now my computer's not the fanciest computer. I built it like 4 years ago. It has like a 2070 in it, and all the it was like a 15, $1,600 computer then. Not too crazy, but it it ran the game at high, and then I had all these issues with uh, with like frames dropping and like the game freezing. So I dropped it down like all the way to low, like the lowest settings, and then unchecked a few things, and I had the same exact issues. It's like nothing changed. I was freezing a lot. Frames were, especially like if a lot of stuff was on the screen, a lot of clutter. My game would freeze for like 4 or 5 seconds, and then there was a lot of character rubber band like teleporting and rubber banding, or I'm trying to run somewhere and my character's just running in place for like a little bit, and then it kind of moves a little bit, but then keeps running in place and then runs a little bit. A lot of that going on. I know it's beta, so maybe that stuff is getting worked out. They're trying to figure out like network issues, but that was annoying. And then I don't know if this happened to you guys, but when I was leaving the main town through the east gate, I noticed my character was getting, he wouldn't go to the next zone. They'd just sit there and run against an invisible wall because there was some kind of connect, like just connecting from getting from this town to this zone. There was just something there that it wouldn't let my character run through. But on my druid, for some reason, it was fine. Like he'd run through and a couple times, and it didn't happen then. But all the other characters, every time I ran out the east gate, I always had that issue. Um, yeah, and then like a couple dungeons, there was like some invisible walls that I came across of, but overall, it was okay. It was not too bad. I'm sure a lot of it they're gonna work out the kinks, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. It is a Blizzard game, so we'll definitely get some errors and disconnects and stuff on first day. We'll see. Overall, I think it's a great game. I had so much fun playing this weekend. I had a lot of fun, and I can't wait till June 6th. It comes out day before my birthday. Don't know if I'm gonna listen. I wish they would just give the 4 day head start like to everyone that pre-ordered. I think it's so scummy that they did the $20 extra just to play 4 days early. It's so annoying because it I I don't want to buy it, but I probably am gonna buy it, and it sucks, man. It just sucks. Uh, but we'll see. Maybe I'll somehow hold back on doing that, but probably not. We'll see. But overall, I give the Diablo beta. Um, let's do like a 7 out of 10. I think it has a lot of potential to be a really good game, and some of the classes they gotta work on a bit, and especially with the low leveling of the barb and the druid, that was just like it wasn't fun. I thought, but and those are playing. I was playing all on normal for those ones too. I think on the sorcerer and the necro I was playing veteran, but on those guys I just wanted to try out normal, and I still had like some issues on normal. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the game, and yeah, just wanted to make a quick little video. So thanks for watching. See ya.